Johnny Byrne, and I am with the great Willie Wilcox from Todd Rundgren, Utopia. I had the pleasure of seeing him 40 years ago this year, in August 1978 in Central Park. Willie, I gotta tell you, it's just an honor to be with you tonight and to see you after all these years.
Thank you.
I know that that you played with Hall & Oates, if I'm right, Bette Midler, you know, and the Hurdy Gurdy album by Steve Hillage. I gotta tell you, that album turned me upside down.
Yeah, it was a fun record to make.
Yeah.
Steve does electronic music now, I think.
That's what I do here.
Yeah, cool.
And I gotta tell you, the way you play, you know, one person asked me in a drum clinic, Johnny, what is music? And I was like, why, it's the space between the notes.
Right.
And the way you play on the Initiation album, on Back to the Bars, that's what said, I'm going to the University of Miami, or I'm going to a college that will actually let me in, because I was a C student,
right,
but I was an orchestral player like yourself.
Right.
So there I am in Central Park, and you're on the timpani, and I'm going, oh my gosh. Correct me if I'm wrong, you went to either Juilliard or
Manhattan School of Music.
Manhattan School of Music.
To learn how to play. Well, I also studied with the guy from the Boston Symphony, the principal timpanist with the Boston Symphony.
Was it Vic Firth or?
Well, Vic I knew, but it wasn't. It was, you know, his name escapes me now, but he was the principal percussionist for the Boston Symphony at the time. I can't remember his name, but I used to go out and, you know, take my timpani lessons. And it was 1 year at Berkeley, and then I went to Manhattan School of Music. And it was all just a placeholder to get to pop.
To get to pop. Well, I got to tell you, did you originally not play Sonar drums with Sabian cymbals? Was that correct?
Let's see. I pretty much started with Sonar. Bernard Purdy turned me on to Sonar.
Bernard, yeah, and he did play in the Initiation album. He played on Real Man, right?
Yeah, and so I knew Bernard in New York, and we talked about Sonar drums, and we got into this whole thing. And at that time, the Link family was still the owners of the Sonar history. So I had become very friendly with Mr. Link and his wife and Oliver, the son, and went over to Bad Berleburg in Germany, picked out my own drums, and I played Sonar for many, many years. On this tour, it's a reunion tour and really a return to my roots. When I started, my very first kit, I'll tell my little story. My very first kit was Pink Champagne Ludwigs.
Pink Champagne
Ludwigs.
I
worked at a drum shop. At that drum shop, there was probably 30 drum kits. It was the largest drum center in upstate New York, Glens Falls, New York.
Yes.
Between Manhattan, Glens Falls, then Montreal was the little stop. Tio Macero used to have a restaurant there, a famous restaurant. I used to watch Count Basie, Woody Herman, Duke Ellington, Max Roach, Gene Krupa.
Did you end up playing with Duke Ellington?
No, I played with Lionel Hampton.
Lionel Hampton.
Bette Midler.
Yeah, okay, I love it.
But anyway, I worked at this drum shop. There was a Ludwig Pink Champagne kit there. I was working. The guy told me part of my job was to clean drums, get them prepared.
That's what I heard.
I was cleaning the drums, got them all set, ready on Christmas Eve, this Pink Champagne set. The next morning when I woke up, that kit was under my tree.
That's awesome.
And so
you traded lessons though for work.
I traded lessons. So my loving mom and dad had got that kit for me, and so for this tour, since it was really a return to my band and my roots, I said, you know, I'm going to go with a Ludwig kit. The guys at Ludwig were super kind enough to make me a custom Ludwig Legacy mahogany kit.
Yes.
And I had it. I love it. It's
is it a 10, 12, 13, 14, 16?
They're 10, 10, 12.
10, 10, 12.
14, 16.
14 over here by the snare.
Yes.
And then a 16 over here.
over there. And
it's amazing.
What I do is I detune the little drums so they sound a little bit bigger.
Absolutely.
And I always
10, 10. I love that.
I always like smaller drums.
Yes, of course, because they like little chihuahuas. They bark faster.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Bigger's not always better.
And they're cute.
Oh my God.
Okay,
I love that. Well, I got to tell you, you were my inspiration to go to the University of Miami. I mean, sometimes music happens in certain areas of the country. When I was growing up, seeing you in Central Park and Woolman Memorial Skating Rink, Dr. Pepper Festival, I said to me, it was August 78, I said, that's what I'm going to do right there. I'm going to go study music. And by the grace of God, I got in the University of Miami because my grades were okay, but I could play. I was playing orchestral, and I could play funk, and I could play some jazz. And it was because of you, I auditioned on some of the Back to the Bars album. And they said, okay, you're in. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm in. I got to meet this guy. The last time I saw you was on the motorcycle set in Central Park, and I was going, rev that set up. I mean, it was incredible.
Yeah, it was fun.
But I just wanted to let you know that you are my biggest idol. I love Steve Gadd and Jeff Beccaro.